everybody, and how nice it is to be back with you for another edition of Reactivated. Just sit back and enjoy, because the next 15 minutes we're going to be talking all things Robot Wars once again. We start with Bot Bit. Cue a close-up shot of two robots fighting in the arena. Can you guess which two and from what series? We will let you know very, very shortly. But now we go over to our fantasy fight. It is the first battle of the second round lineup. Of course, we have Carbide and Mighty Mouse in the arena fighting together. My personal view on this fight, there would be no contest whatsoever. And I know that might be quite vague, but it really would be no contest. One thing that would probably happen, if we're taking, this is the Mighty Mouse version from Series 6, of course, and how small that robot was. Yes, it was manoeuvrable. Yes, it was irritating. But this would be one scared mouse in the arena against Carbide. Carbide, disc would spin up in no time. It's invertible. There would be no real weaknesses against Carbide, really. I really can't see any way that Mighty Mouse could find a weakness and throw Carbide, immobilise it, punch it. It would just be like a little bit of a punch, here we go, let's just punch into the machine. But the thing is, before that would happen, Carbide would just completely obliterate it with the disc, to a point where the disc might even throw Mighty Mouse out of the arena. There we go, that's my fantasy fight. They collide at such ferocity and force, Carbide ends up hurling the mouse out of the arena, ready for, I don't know, Cat 3 to eat it or something, I don't know. But there we go, Carbide through to the final. More fantasy fight next time on Reactivated as we move on to some fighting talk. The curse of the number 8 seed. Yes, I'm sure you might have heard of this by now. We're going to have a quick look through, because since Series 4, when the seeds did start, whoever was seeded number 8 failed to make it through their heat. And this really was a curse. This was the only numbered seeded number. You never saw the 8th seed in a semi-final. It just didn't happen. In Series 4, Gemini was the 8th seed, and they had a pretty decent concept. A cluster bot, fantastic. It flipped Creature out the arena, but then was up against the newcomer at the time, Tornado, and Tornado, with the ferocity and the power, pummeled Gemini, impaling it on the arena spike, and that was it for Gemini, the 8th seed. And a pretty smart concept and design of a robot was out. Now, Series 5, we had the 8th seed, 3 Stegs to Heaven. And I've said this before in a previous episode of Reactivated. For me, 3 Stegs to Heaven was the worst variant of the Steg machine. Of course, Stegosaurus get through to the grand final, Steg 2 get through to the semi-final. For whatever reason, the team just decided on this very, very weak addition to the Steg family. Getting through somehow to the heat final, it's scraped by 11, it's scraped by Tetanus, really. They were immobile for half the fight, up until the heat final, where they were up against the most improved robot of the series so far, Bigger Brother, where their run ended. The 8th seed was out. Now, Series 6 came, and the seeded machine for Series 6 on 8th, number 8, was Panic Attack. I might touch on this in a future episode of Reactivated, but Panic Attack in Series 6 was awful. They totally redesigned it. It was gold, there was no stream mech, the forks hardly worked, it was slow, sluggish. Again, it somehow managed to get through to the heat final, and for me, there was no chance of escaping the heat, because of the axe of terahertz was just too powerful, too good. A very underwhelming performance from the 8th seed, so Panic Attack ended in the heat final. And as luck would have it, Panic Attack returned again in Series 7 as the 8th seed. Now, the seeding system was all over the place for Series 7. I mean, who would put Ming Dynasty, whatever it was called then, as a seed in Series 7? And Panic Attack should not have been as high up as it was in that series. It was the worst performance as well for Panic Attack. Got through the first round melee fine, but then was up against a very, very tough machine, tough as nails. The lifters were rendered immobile, and Panic Attack gradually ground to a halt and were eliminated. So there we go. That is your very, very brief look into the curse of the number 8 seed throughout the original run of Robot Wars. Okay, dead quick for you this one. Trivia. Question for you. There were over 160 episodes made between Series 1 and 10, of course, original and reboot. There are 2 factors. That could be a robot, a person, or an arena object, or whatever. There were 2 factors that were present throughout every single episode of the show. Can you guess what those 2 factors were? I say factors, more like a person. I'm going to say it now, okay? You've had a few seconds to try and guess. If you don't want the answer, just pause the video. But I'm going to reveal the answer. And of course, it is Jonathan Pierce and head judge Noel Sharkey. They were the only 2 people, forget robots, forget arena hazards, forget house robots. They were the only 2 people present throughout the entire run. So from some trivia to merchandise, memories, and of course we are working our way through the original 6 toys you could get in the original run. And today we will be focusing our energy on the house robot. And now we get to Sergeant Bash. For me, I think Sergeant Bash was a bit of an afterthought. It seemed that they spent quite a lot of time on the other toys at the time, getting them to pretty decent levels of quality, and then all of a sudden, Sergeant Bash was created. To me, as a toy, very, very underwhelming. So, features here. Now you can see that Bash has. The thing is with Sergeant Bash, as a toy, there was very, very little you could really do with the flamethrower. You couldn't really have actual flames coming out of his turret, which of course was an obstacle in itself. But also his jaw here, it's got a face of an eye, it's an eye and the claws, the gums, the teeth, which weren't actually on Sergeant Bash himself. And then you've got this very strange tyre guard here that's kind of missing some lines, some warning lines here. And it's also a lot smaller than the other toys. If you put that against some of the later toys like Tornado even and Dan Tonkia, it's like a mini-bot. It really is a very underwhelming house robot for me. So I'm going to categorise this. The features, it's going to have to be a 4. It's down with the 4. The only thing it really could do was the claw. Yes, the claw worked, but looking at the claw, it was nothing like what was on telly. And also, it just the body needed blowing up a bit, and also the turret as well. So, the realism as well compared to the actual Sergeant Bash, I'm going to have to give this a 1. This is probably the worst toy that was available to buy for me. Of course, it does make an absence in our later series because we couldn't really do much with it. So overall, there's my overall rating of Sergeant Bash. Also, the barrels, the tyres that it came with, why didn't they make a 75 target? You had a 50 and a 25. So any of you die-hard Robot Wars fans who wanted to do the pinball, a realistic portrayal of the pinball tournament, you couldn't really do it. You'd have to make a 75 sticker yourself. So for me, Bash was a very underwhelming purchase. And one really I think they missed the mark on quite substantially. We're going to take some questions now, but before we do that, we're just going to quickly go back to Bot Bit, and of course on the screen at the start of the episode, we gave you a screenshot of a zoomed in shot of 2 robots fighting. Now, diehard fans should have got this, because this was the very first ever heat final in the first wars between Kilotron and Roadblock from Series 1. That's right, the very first episode, can you believe, all the way back in 1998. So, well done if you got that correct. Now we go over to some questions. First, we have Funny Bones 46. Thank you. Which your question is, why was Wild Thing, our Wild Thing, changed to Wild Things, and why did Multi-Robots only have okay-ish records? Yep, it's a great question, Funny Bones 46, because for us the multi-robot aspect was incredibly difficult, to be honest. We really struggled because there were so many. There was so much that had to happen. You know, you had to control each part of the cluster robot as well as the competitor and the house robots, etc. And it got to a point where there were so many hands on the arena, you didn't really get to see much what was going on. So for us, the cluster bot idea was good for just the odd fight, but we didn't really want it to carry on that much because of the fact that all you would see is this cloud of hands, and it just wouldn't have looked good on screen. Now, Wild Things, yes, we did from the original run to the reboot. It was called Wild Things because now it had a little baby, so Wild Thing and Wild Thing Junior. Again, yes, a cluster bot. We could control more of Wild Things compared to Bots and Pieces, which is the three-way robot that we had in Series 7. So thank you, Funny Bones 46, for your question. Wild Things, of course, plural, because it was two machines in the end. Question 2 from Warsaw. This is from the websites. Which arena hazard did you have most difficulty with when building your arena? I'm struggling to make a working pit. Any tips? Yes, Warsaw. I would say the pit as well for us. It was the thinking and the logistics behind trying to, first of all, keep it up so robots could easily move across it, but at the same time, as soon as the button was hit, there had to be a device where it sank, of course. We made that device, and you can see that in our pit stop episode on the channel for more details on the arena hazards and how we built them. I've just got some video footage here showing now of the device that we used for the pit. It's a basic cutout, so wherever you want the pit, you cut that bit out, you keep that block, and then underneath, once you've hired the arena, underneath you put a big wedge. We used a big Lego piece where we rammed it in, kept the board up so it was level with the arena, and then whenever we wanted the pit to descend, we'd take this big slab of Lego out, and of course it then sank. So Warsaw might not have been helpful there, but I've had some visuals just there to show you, and of course check out Pit Stop as well. So thank you for your question. We have time. Yes, Donut King Neela. Apologies if I've got that one wrong, that pronunciation wrong. Why did you never make cardboard robots? Good question, because yes, you're right, 99% of our robots were made of Lego. We weren't really talented enough, to be honest. We enjoyed building with the Lego more, and we thought that cardboard was a bit limiting for us. That was what we thought at the time, but you will notice from Series 8, our robots did gradually, there was hints of cardboard in, of course, with Roadblock, the flipper was cardboard, Bot from the Blue, the flipper was cardboard. So we were trying to, towards the end, fit cardboard into our robots. 6. Thank you, Donut King Neela, for your question. We have got so many more to get through. 15 minutes goes like that, doesn't it? Please like, subscribe, share, download. There's more content coming up very, very soon. Just want to say thank you so much for watching, and we will see you very, very soon on Reactivated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.